Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the respected dignitaries, distinguished speakers, honorable participants, and the loving audience, beautiful people present here from all around the globe. I, Ms. Nada Ratkovic, IIU board member, country director, IIU Croatia, the president of Research Center IIU, and co-founder of IIU Europe, welcome you all to the IIU Research Center International webinar on the topic Determining the Impact Factor of Researchers in Different Highly Indexing Journal Databases by our expert, Dr. Froilan D. Mobo from the Philippines. Let me first introduce our organizers. International Internship University is a leading virtual education system and global brand confederation, which is the most valuable and trusted worldwide and well reputed in delivering innovative programs. Globally, it is a trusted name for quality training programs, and it is committed to provide better and virtual education to all the young learners of the globe. IIU is metamorphosing the conventional education system by cutting down the additional cost and providing access to more than 1,000 plus courses internships to their e-learners across the globe with the help of its 1,000 plus global educators. In a short span of time, IIU has spread its wings in 195 countries, 6 continents, under the strong leadership of its visionary founder, Mr. Piyush Pandit, Sir, a committed and inspiring social activist, a passionate educationist from the last 2 decades, providing education to students from various social and cultural backgrounds. The sky is the limit for his dedication and hard work. IIU has formed his councils, Women Entrepreneurs Council, International Student Development Council, International Youth Development Council, International Council of Educators. Be the change with IIU. Research Center by International Internship University is a unique hub. It is giving an opportunity to the researchers, authors, educators, students, scholars across the globe and enhances the research opportunities, academic excellence, real-world problem solving, knowledge creation, and dissemination. The high-caliber global educators team is dedicated to it. So here is a process of systematic inquiry that entails collection of data, documentation, critical information, analysis, interpretation, data information. Me, Professor Nada Ratkovic, as a president of Research Center thinks, if you have ever thought about how would be the world without education, without research, science, innovation, technology, or any development of anything, then IIU and IIU Research Center is the right place to you. So today we are offering an unlimited access to knowledge, learning, growing, sharing. We are offering free international webinars, training, workshops, events, and all in the field of science, technology, innovation, research. Today, I have an expert, I have an academician, I have a researcher by heart. Dr. Froilan D. Mobo from the Philippines. He's coming from the Department of Research, Development, Extension, from the Mercant Marine Academy, PNMA, from Zambales, Philippines. Dr. Froilan, as an international multi-awarded researcher and international editor-in-chief, Dr. Mobo is able to publish 85 research articles with 60 citations in ResearchGate and 53 citations in the Google Scholar, which are indexed in the Google Scholar, Crossref, Dimensions, Road, Silt, Garuda, IC, Copernicus, ScienceGate, IC Indexing, Semantic Scholar, EBSCO, TOA, SINT, Sinta, Sinta2, Sintal, Cheat, Journal, Asian, so Web of Science, Scopus. Dr. Mobo is very active. He is not only a researcher, he is He's working like ambassador of the humanity. He's leading the organization, humanitarian organization in Philippines, and doing so many social work, giving lectures, making workshops. So today we have opportunity to listen an amazing speech, watch an amazing presentation on the topic determining the impact factor of researchers in different highly indexing journal databases. Like our expert today, we will learn a lot from our great Dr. Froilan D. Mobo. Dr. Froilan, welcome.
Good evening. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, yes, you are.
Okay, so I'll be sharing my PowerPoint. So once again, good evening from the Philippines. So it's uh, thank you for this wonderful opportunity for me to be invited again in this virtual platform and to discuss about the topic on the determining the impact factor of researches in a different highly indexing journal databases. It's very important for us, all of us, researchers and also scholars on how to determine the impact factor of a particular journal, especially on how to determine, of course, the indexing. So before we start, of course, let us define what is the impact factor of a particular journal. So from that, the impact factor plays a vital role not only on the part of the author but on the part of the journal because this is the average of the time of articles which is being published in the past 2 years. For example, which is being cited in uh, those platform on the journal. So the impact factor is calculated, of course, by dividing the number of the citations in a particular journal here by the total number of articles published. So which means that it is very important on a particular journal for articles, especially to be cited. Okay, so because on that part, it will be able to determine how your journal is being active. For example, in my journal, in the Age Mobile Journal, most of the authors are always being cited. For example, in the Scopus indexing databases, the Web of Science. That's why on that part of articles, if we're going to check, of course, on the Scopus database, the journal will easily be can seen easily, especially in the Web of Science databases. So it's a good part that it plays a vital role on that part, not only of course in on the Web of Science part or in the Clearbit Analytics, but there are so many indexing databases that can calculate, of course, the activity of a particular articles which is being cited from time to time. Just like in my case, for example, me as an individual author, I have an average of citations in a matter of 2 years for its existence since I have started to publish last 2020 up to present, and I was able to have a publications about around 85 publications. So part of that, of course, uh, you would be able to determine the impact factor of a particular journal in a matter of 2 years. Of course, part of that, which means the average of the articles published in 1 or 2 years, would be able to count that. So an impact factor of 2.5 means that on average, the articles published on 1 or 2 years been cited on a half time. So citing articles may be from the same journal or from other journals, which is also a good part. For example, if the article is being cited, for example, in a Scopus index database. Okay? So for example, the journal 2022 impact factor is around 12.47. So this is was calculated thusly on the times which is being cited. For example, from 2020 to 22 articles coming from this journal and going this, so it can be divided the total of articles being published between those years. So you would be able to have an impact factor of 12.478, which is really it has a high impact part. And part of it, it's very important to play to always check the impact factor of the journal. So, which means you have to check always the indexing, whether it is under the Claribits Analytics or on the site score. So, uh, we have different types of on how to determine the impact factor. It will not only come from one indexing database or platform, but it will come from different platform. For example, if you're going to check the impact factor based on the Google Scholar indexing, the site the site factor, uh, for example, in Scopus, in the Web of Science, you would be able to determine the journal and of course all the publication which is being cited from time to time. So of course, part of it, journal citation reports provides ranking for journals in the areas of, it depends if that is under in a multidisciplinary area or of course in the technology. So for every journal covered, the following information is collected or calculated. Just like in my journal, we are catering multidisciplinary. So which means that the more that you publish articles, which is being read by many authors, for example, in my case, in an average, if I'm not mistaken, in a week, sometimes I receive around hundreds or more than read. So part of it, it plays a good role, of course, of uh, in the part of the publications of the journal, of course, for the authors and also for the journals which the paper was been published. So it is important, of course, not only to publish your paper but to get citations from authors so that the impact factor of the journals will be counted, and of course the what database is being counted. For example, if we are going to check the scope of citedness, so it is a good part. For example, in my journal, I think on that average, if we're going to consider the scope of citedness, it's around 97%, which can be indexed soon. For example, in the Scopus indexing database, so which is a good uh, factor and good score if you're going to check on that. So of course, to the limited citation date of journals index in the Web of Science, so it also plays a vital role. So the more that you have uh, citations or impact factor coming from different indexing database, so the more chances of your journal to be indexed. For example, if the journal is being cited for how many times in the Scopus, so you have, the more of chances the journal will be indexed soon. Plus, it will determine how it will be included based on the indexes. For example, if that is categorized under the arts, humanities, science, and social sciences. That's why it is very important always, if you're going to check the journal, you should have to, in terms of reputability, you should check always the indexing plus the impact factor uh, uh, according to their indexing partner. For example, if that is indexed according to Google Scholar, so you should check it. Okay? And then that's where you can find, of course, the factors which can determine the high index and other areas that will be considered. So to determine the impact factor for a particular journal, you should check, of course, the properties, the year, the categories found, of course, based on the uh, indexing on what type. Okay? And this can be listed. For example, the years which is being cited, how many times, and it will count for the high indexing area. That's why it's very important always to check and where to find it. Of course, finding the impact factor for your journal using various platform, for example, can be listed. And impact factors are also usually listed on the individual journal publisher pages. That's why when if you're going to check how the journal is being counted and how the part that is it reputable or is it not, it doesn't belong to predatory journals. So you should always check the indexing plus the impact factor of a particular journal, because right now there are so many fake journals which is being cascaded of course around the internet. So it's very important to double check always, for example, the attributes and the properties. For example, if the journal is being they said that the journal is being indexed in the Scopus, so you should check it part by part on the sources which is being uh, classified, and that you would be able to see for the duration which is the journals being indexed, for example, in a Scopus, in how many publications that they have and how many citations that they have. So it's very important to check that. Okay, especially if that is a multidisciplinary or a particular journal that specializes, for example, in the area of engineering or in other sectoral. So journal citation reports, of course, can evaluate citations now that can be drawn from a scholarly and technical journals worldwide. Of course, that is in the different areas, for example, in the science, technology, and other social sciences area. That's why if you're going to check, of course, the reputability or properties or attributes of a particular journal, so you should always have to check the indexing partner, the links that it has on that part. So make sure that once you click the indexing, you have to make sure that the icon there is clickable so that you would be able to determine the impact factor of the journal and how many citation it has already incurred for the past 2 years or for the past 1 year, and who are those legitimate indexing or accreditation partners on that journal. For example, in the case of our journal in the Ichmaber, if I'm not mistaken, we already have 51 citations and we already have a high impact, a high index. So which means that is a good number. But that's only categorized under the Google Scholar. So part by part, if you're going to check the different indexing, for example, in dimensions, it will also generate a report on how many times the journal is being cited and how many times it's being accessed. So it's very important to check that always. Okay, and of course the reputability. If if the journal, for example, is still active on that particular partnership or it is already being delisted. For example, if they say that the journals is indexed in a Scopus, you should determine the year or when they have uploaded articles coming from, for example, in a particular journal, which is being, they said that the journal is still active, so we should always check that. So of course, part of that citation also plays a vital role. So for example, in the case of uh, my citation reports, it will also uh, be beneficial for the journal. So the more the author or the editorial board uh, incurred numbers of citations, so it will contribute, of course, on the part of the journal. So it plays a vital role, of course. Uh, it makes sense that all your publication is being read and it's being cited. So which means that they have understand that your study will be able to support also their study. So which means that it is important on a particular article to be published that your article must gain particular citations, so that if you want to be counted, of course, in a particular uh, metrics that can create, for example, in an ad scientific index, they would be able to categorize you if you are on the top ranking scaling that is based on the citations being incurred for a particular year. So which means it will categorize the high index, or if you are best in that particular area, for example, in the educational technology category. So it will depend on the particular. Now, for example, which is being shown on the screen, it will display or entail that this scientist belongs to a particular uh, group of researchers, for example, coming from a particular university, that she or he is being ranked one or number two based on the uh, citations. Okay, or it can also be classified global or in Asia or in a particular country. So it will give uh, an impact on that area. So which means that uh, when you publish a paper, it is important to gain always a citation because always give for example, uh, in terms of ranking, professorial ranking, in our case, for a particular university, uh, it is very important to gain citations, of course, and later it will be counted as part of your contributions in the publication industry. For example, if you have gained around the minimum requirement for a particular Scopus index. So it is a good part. Okay. So not only the number of publications that you have, but also the number of citations that you have incurred. Okay, for a particular period, and it will also give you it will also be a beneficial on your part. For example, if you will be ranked for a particular professorial ranking, and it will give both sides, of course, for the journal and also for the particular author or scholar. And of course, part of it, what is considered a high impact factor for a journal is 10 or greater. So in the most field, the impact factor of 10 or greater is considered an excellent score, while 3 is flagged as a good in the average of score is less than 1. So which means it has a good number. So you should always have to check that based on the indexing. Okay? So later I'm going to show you some examples of the uh, indexing partner coming from particular journal, and from there you would be able to check to determine and to click whether the journal is still active or still is already been delisted. Because guys, even just like what I've mentioned in other conferences and other webinars, even they say that the journal is still indexed in the Scopus, but if you're not going to double check the uh, its properties, for example, you might be lured, because there are so many journals right now before they are indexed in that particular indexing, but because of problems that they have encountered, they have uh, they have been delisted. Okay, so you should always check those areas or factors that might be a helpful part on the authors or on the researchers. So it's very important to check and determine how the journal is being classified based on the impact factor and also to the uh, indexing. So you should check the link and of course the properties of a particular uh, journal. Okay. So how to target your research on a high impact journal? So in the academic publishing, so aiming high means selecting the best, of course, part of that. And this impact, at least in a publishing sense, so it means that it has a measure of the readership. Of course, the number of researchers your article is being reached, and of course, uh, journals with wider calculations therefore have higher chance to be uh, gain particular high result from the impact factor. So those have been launched or read by fewer researchers internationally will have lower impact factors. So it's very important that your paper will not only be read, but of course, will also be cited. So part of that, if the paper is not being cited, so which means that there's a problem with your research article. So checking a journal's ranking is one way to identify, of course, and avoid predatory journals, just like what I mentioned a while ago. So one way to check how reputable the journal is always to check the journal indexing and, of course, the impact factor and its accreditation. Okay? Later on the last part of the slide, I'm going to show you on those type of indexing databases, which is really important, because guys, the main problem of other industry right now and educational sector right now, their mindset is focused on the scopus, which is on the part of a researcher. It is also important to give an emphasis on other indexing partners. For example, we have an IBSCO, we have from other countries. For example, in Indonesia, we have Sinta, and other countries, which, for example, in European countries, in Turkey, they have their own standards. So which means that part by part, we should establish and know how to identify particular recognized indexing. So, because if you're going to give a mindset and focus on Scopus, uh, it is not, it is good. It is good that you have a Scopus index published article, but also consider other partners that can give high reputable ranking. Okay? So, because if you're going to ask how much does an Scopus index. So it's really it has a too high cost publication in that particular area. There are many journals, for example, in the Philippines. If you're going to publish an article, you can publish your article in a CHET accredited journal or ASEAN Citations without paying any article processing charges, which is really good for a particular author. Because if you're going to publish your article in a well-known database, it is good. Okay? So ways to measure an impact factor, just like what I mentioned a while ago, it is important to check the H index, which is an index to quantify an individual scientific research output, because there are several databases, for example, coming from the Web of Science, Scopus, and Google Scholar, that will provide an each index for an individual based on publications index in different tools, and find about more about these tools is how to use them to click them on their particular partnership. So it's very important to not to focus, of course, not only in the Claribit analytics, but also to check the indexing partners. For example, in one of my inquiries that I have encountered before, they told me what is the impact factor of the journal. I told them to first check the indexing partners. Then from there, if they're going to click the link based on the indexing accreditation and partners, they would be able to see the actual impact factor of our journal. For example, if the journal is indexed in Google Scholar, they would be able to see the impact factor based on the H index, the number of citations, if that is under the Google Scholar database. So it depends on what are those indexing partners which is being partner in a particular journal. And part of it, the citation analysis is the process whereby the impact factor can give a qualified, no? For example, in how to assess by counting the number of times the authors is being mentioned in their work. That's why it has an access to a number of resources which can identify the cited works, which includes, of course, for example, the well-known database, for example, the Web of Science, the Scopus, the IBSCO, the Dimensions, the Cinto under Indonesia, or even Google Scholar. Okay? And you would be able to know this based on their citation analysis tab. Okay, so you should always check the properties of each particular partner database. Okay, we should not focus on, for example, if the requirement is a Scopus index, and we have to check also the factors that can cla- uh, classify or qualify on a particular published article. For example, in the Philippines, under a particular instrument, they always mention that once the paper is being published in a reputable, they always mention that you should publish in a Scopus index. But if you're going to check the requirement which is being stipulated under that particular instrument, you would be able to determine that uh, 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 it will be classified under a reputable journal with of course with a journal system in any part of that is already considered reputable. Okay, so we have to change our mindset that they always said that Scopus is only a reputable journal. So that is not a good part because there are so many indexing databases that which is being considered reputable. Okay? Because they are doing is they just want only to do business on that particular indexing partner. Okay? So of course there are so many platforms or tools that can quantify your the measurement of your citations or the impact factor. Okay, so you can check the number of reads, downloads. For example, we have metrics, and of course, I think ResearchGate can also uh, quantify the number of reads, the number of downloads, and even the number of citations. And of course, they can also classify the impact factor of your publications, the year cited, and they can give you a matrix or an analysis. So it depends on the indexing partner. Okay, so you should always check that if the journal is being partnered or indexed in a particular databases, for example, in ResearchGate and Google Scholar or Scopus, because they have their own matrix or impact factor on how to classify the journal. It is being considered as a reputable or predatory. Okay? So citations give the readers the opportunity to see where you got information to critique, of course, the study and sources. So part of that, this is the strongest line of defense against of course, plagiarism, and part of that, this is one of the requirement to have to get an impact factor. And part of that, uh, it is very important. For example, in a particular, if you're an author, it's very important that you should always catch the reader's attention. So because it will make sense. Because if you're going to publish articles, for example, if you have 85 publications, but if you don't have citations, I think there's a problem with your articles. So not only on the part of the number of articles that you have published, but of course the number of citations that you have incurred, and especially the high index part. Okay, which I have shown you a while ago. There is a platform that can classify the number of citations and can also rank you if you're best in this particular area. Okay, for example, we have to focus, for example, in one database, which is the Google Scholar, this is a search engine that focuses on academic research. This is a good alternative to uh, for search engine part of research, which is focuses more on scholarly journals and publications, which are often not included in web searches. So unlike Google Scholar, which searches the web in general, isn't designed to be a scholar database, but you would be able to see a lot of published articles on their databases. So why it is better than Google search? Because this particular indexing database can give you a lot of articles which is really reliable in terms of using regular search engine. Okay, if you're going to check, for example, other indexing databases, for example, Scopus, the Web of Science, the ResearchGate, or even academia, which is being considered as part of the archiving or indexing, you would be able to check the scholarly output of different authors coming from the research community. And of course, for example, how does Google Scholar work? So when you use Google Scholar, you would be able to search information. Okay, and then a lot of authors ask me of course, as my role as the editor in chief, they always ask me when they publish articles, sir, how many days will the article will be searchable in the Google Scholar. Sometimes, based on my own experience, once you publish a particular article in a journal, for example, in HMOBIR, especially for the DOI assignment, if you're going to click the DOI in a matter of 3 to 4 days, the paper will be searchable in Google Scholar because the DOI or the direct uh, object identifier plays a vital role in your article. That's why you always have to include, of course, the keyword which plays a vital role so that when you type a particular keywords, it will index to a particular published articles online. Okay, those are the methods that what we are doing in my journal, no? Sometimes they ask me, sir, why is it that the my article which is being published the day is not accessible? Because you have to wait for a matter of 3 to 4 days. That's the standard platform. So you have to wait for that because what we are trying to do there is the journal is still under propagation or the link is under propagation. So you have to wait for it. Okay? So the Google Scholar also uses a ranking system called the Scholar Rank that determines which results are more relevant than others, which by looking at how many cited is being incurred in a scholarly literature. So if you're going to browse, for example, the Google Scholar platform, and you would be able to go to the Google Scholar profile of a particular researcher, you would be able to determine that the paper that they have published already gained citations, and that will lead you to it will add it will give a beneficial on the part of the journal. Okay, especially if it's being indexed or cited in a Scopus index database or in a web of science, just like in my journal in the HMOBER. Uh, it is a good news, or it's a good part that my journal is already being considered as a Scopus citedness. So if we're going to check the percentage or the status of my journal, if you're going to evaluate it, it's about 97% chances of being indexed in a Scopus because of the citedness of Scopus references. And of course, an increasingly popular, so we have this Google Scholar. And of course, there are many tips for using Google Scholar. Part of that, which is being mentioned a while ago, by using the keywords, which is anchored to the DOI, the direct object identifier, which can, of course, give you a web crawl to that particular topic based on the keyword, and it will be become big role if for example, if the keyword is, which is being a chance for your paper to be cited. Sometimes authors also do ask if your papers can be read, can be downloaded, and they will ask sometimes if your paper can be part of the references. Okay, so and part of that use the cited by feature. So this is the area or feature which is I mentioned a while ago, that if you're going to check in the Google Scholar, you would be able to see the properties of a particular uh, journal. So I think I can give a good example. If you're going to search a particular author or particular paper on the journal, you would be able to see a list of papers which is being cited. For example, the search terms crime economics, which is being yielded or give a hit around 1988 paper, it will give the number of citations. Okay, and so why does Google Scholar not find a particular paper? Because part of that, sometimes it depends on how the paper is being published in a particular journal. That's why it's very important Two, check first the credibility of the journal. Number one, okay, and its inaccuracies. You should always check that, because if the journal or their publications have a problem in terms of the DOI or the direct object identifier, I think there's a problem that will be experienced when your paper is being published there. So citation generators also very important, okay, because it can easily give you uh, a bibliometrics or bibliographic citations easily. So this is just like what we are doing in uh, Google Scholar and of course in other platforms. And so, for example, you have the Google Citation Generator. It can give you a citation easily, and it can count you. I think I can show some example based on this. I'll just load a particular link. So, for example, we have this the journal. If we're going to check the indexing, for example, on the part of the Google Scholar indexing, you would be able to check the uh, number of citations of the journal. Is it visible on your screen? Is it
Yes,
visible?
yes, it is, Dr. Mobo, no problem. But you are not visible, but we see you sometimes. It's okay. Great.
Yeah. So you would be able to check the number of citations by year and the high index and the I index. So you would be able to determine that the journal is really active based on this. Okay. Then a lot of authors will be categories if they will be ranked rank one or based on top 10 based on the indexing. So this can already be considered as part of the impact factor of your journal under Google Scholar indexing. And another, for example, another choices that you can also check is if you're going to check, for example, the on the part of, I think dimensions can also give you an impact factor. I have browsed that before. So dimensions is also a good indexing database because you would be able to see the number of publications. Of course, so from here you would be able to check, okay, the activity of the journal, the the citations is there in the ranking. So just like what I mentioned, it depends on the no on the statistical analysis or result of a particular indexing partner. So it is important for the journal to link a particular indexing which is active on that area. So as you see, this is our journal. So you will be able to see that we already have 94 citations. We have the mean. So this is a good impact factor for the journal, which is being running for almost 2 years as of this date. Another partner, for example, is we have uh, these are part. This is the current indexing of my journal, and part of that, the good thing is that we all the journals already being indexed in IBSCO, and within this year we are trying to work it out with other higher ranking databases. It's very important to check always to validate the uh, partnered or accredited indexing. Okay, for example, we have the WorldCat or other platforms that can be used. So that's it. This is a good example of how to determine a high impact factor not only in site factor but in other indexing partnered on a particular journal. Okay, so you should always check that. Okay, so let's move. Let's continue with the discussion.
Okay.
So that's why it's very important to check the credibility of the journal, and of course, these are the platforms that can be used when you cite, and the grammar checker also plays a vital role, and citation, of course, that you should always do. So another is of course the interpreting the similarity report of a particular journal. No? Just like what we are doing in the journal, part of it that when we receive articles coming from various sources, we always have to determine the similarity report. So what is it? So for example, in our journal, we have a standard of at least less than 20% because the requirement for a highly indexed reputable journal should always maintain that the papers must have a requirement of less than 20% for similarity. So which means that uh, these are common uh, words or links which can be found in a particular databases, because other database includes billions of web pages. So you would be able to determine if the paper is being plagiarized by using, of course, plagiarism checker. For example, you're using Turnitin. I think the most common plagiarism checker that we are using, not only in the most common university, and of course in most journal industries, we are using uh, Turnitin. Okay, so from there you would be able to determine the similarity based on the, if that is if it will be coming from the internet or it's a repository. That's why the requirement is once the an author submitted a paper, you should always have to check the similarity report if that is coming from a particular uh, repository, or if the paper is already being published. So you have to check it part by part, because if we receive a report that the paper is already been published, we will reject it, and it will be subjected on the copy guidelines under the international regulations of the publication ethical standard. And part of it, being an experienced editorial board and uh, 20 journals, it's very important to always to determine the similarity reports or matches. Okay, of course, this figure that I have shown you on your screen, it is perfectly natural for a particular paper that gets a matches. So for example, if we have received a report that the paper is around 89%, so we will immediately reject it. Okay, it is not acceptable based on the standard of the copy guidelines, and of course on if they are, because guys, uh, we don't set a standard, so it depends on the journal or it depends on the university in terms of similarity indexing. Okay, for example, in other journal, if that's a Scopus, sometimes they set a standard of less than 10% and or less than 20%, because under the DUAJ or Directory of Access Journal, sometimes they preferred to have less than 20%. That's the reason why the journal should be strict in terms of accepting papers. Okay, and part of it, that's the reason why we need to set those standards, because soon if we're going to apply for accreditation, for example under Scopus, they would be able to check, okay, on how you process paper, starting from acceptance, going to the peer review process, and up to the publication standard, okay, or process. And from there, if you have a good journal system, that processes can be categorized or classified that that journal is reputable. Okay, so you should always be careful because once you have encountered a predatory journal, I'm telling you guys, even you will submit a paper, they will not reply. They will only accept your paper and they will publish it immediately. Okay? So you should always check all the factors that can be considered as the impact factor of the journal, of course, and the number of publication and citations. You should check them, the links, and the partnered or accredited journal. Okay? So these are the category. For example, if the submission is being categorized on a particular less than 6%, or we have a marking of green, which means the paper is good for publications. Okay, this is one of the similarity reports that we are considering, because in my journal, the standard that we are doing before we proceed with the double peer review process, we have to check first the similarity reports. That's why if I'm going to check the similarity reports and I have received around more than 20%, I will inform the author that the paper will be revised and it will be resubmitted, and it will go to another process of the peer review process. Okay. So, of course, similarity reports provide the summary of matching or highly similar text found in the submitted paper. So, paper which is being categorized under an internet source is considered plagiarized. But if the paper is kept or stored in a particular a working file or repository, it's a case-to-case basis. Okay. So the color of a report can indicate that the similarity score of the paper can be considered as a plagiarized. Okay. So we have that. So we have the matching, which is being indexed. So of course, the acceptable percentage of a similarity score, sometimes it is less than 25%. So it depends on the standard of the journal. Okay. So so of course, plagiarism prevention. So, of course, when reviewing submitted publications or journals, we're supposed to look for this, so just like what we are doing, uh, because the internet, a large article database, can uh, have a detection part of it, and of course, a similar report is always being done. Okay, and some manuscript could share a low overall similarity rate. So and part of that, on the last part of the presentation, so top journal indexing that we have to consider, of course, we have the Scopus, the Web of Science. Under the Web of Science, so we have, of course, the Science Citation Indexing Expanding, or the SCIE, the Social Science Citation Index. We have the Arts and Humanities Citation Index. And also we have the WAJ, the PubMed, and we have from a good citation coming from China and other citation. We also have the IGI factor, we have the Portico and other indexing databases, which is very well known. Of course, so if you have seen these icons on the journals, for example, if it's being indexed in IBSCO or other databases, which means that the journal performs well, and that is considered as a reputable journal. Okay, and I think uh, that would be the last part of my presentation. So with that, thank you for listening and attending to this webinar.
Thank you. Thank you, great Dr. Mobo. Thank you for your great speech, for your great presentation, for the explanation on this very important topic, determining the impact factor of researchers in different highly indexing journal databases. I was watching our audience. They are all satisfied with the speech and presentation also. I ask them if they have any questions to be free to ask you because you will answer them. So we have so great comments. Also, I want to say our great Dr. Mobo. He is really amazing researcher. So he works for his university. He works international, global. He works for the international, so many international foundations, and he has different interests in the research. Today we see really way steps how to achieve and how to go and how to and what why writing for the journals were not highly rated. So Dr. Moba show us from the Google Scholar how to the Scopus to do so many. I can say everything today is very important for the researchers, for the authors, and also for the for them who are not who don't have a lot of experience who is starting. So we are here. We are here to help. You can also, I put in the chat from Dr. Mobo, his page from the ResearchGate. Also, you can contact our great Dr. Mobo because he's always ready to help you. So let me see once again how to we have Dr. Moba. We have one question. Our Javid Dualtana, he is a PhD student. He's asking how to find multidisciplinary research field of our subject. For example, human resources or marketing. Dr. Javed is interested how to find multidisciplinary research field of the subject, like example for his marketing.
It depends on the indexing. For example, if you're going to check in the Scopus or the Web of Science, you would be able to check the category if it's under the multidisciplinary area. So there are so many web tools, for example, under the Web of Science. I think not only in the Scopus, but also in publishing, famous publishing companies that offers, for example, Springer they can also provide uh, tools or helpful links that can classify multidisciplinary journal, and of course the reviews, the citations, the impact factors. I think that would be part of checking highly reputable multidisciplinary journal.
Thank you. Sir Javed, are you satisfied with the answer? Thank you, Dr. Mobo. Thank you. Let's see, any more question? Did an excellent session. Thanks. So, so I think that our audience, with the comments, what I read, is really enjoying in the speech and presentation. It is very helpful for all of us. So, what to say today? Today in this session, our uh, something with my camera. I don't know why. What? Okay. So let's see. Uh, we have this. We go through the journals. I will say again. Thank you, respected Dr. Moba, for the great speech and great presentation. We are offering the unlimited access to knowledge in IIU Research Center. We can continue learning, growing, and sharing. We will have so many sessions. We already have our amazing training development education center in IIU because after this session today, we have a new session with our academician. So let's continue growing and working together. I want to thanks to our great sir Piyush Pandit for giving this opportunity. I will once again repeat. I, Professor Nada Ratkovic, is inviting you to join us, to be a part of us, to be a change with us. We are really giving our opportunity to all, to the researchers, to the students, to educators, to authors, to scholars across the globe. We are giving the enhancers, we are giving the research opportunities, we are giving academic excellence, real world problem solving, knowledge creation, and dissemination. We are all here to help you. So, there is no world without education. There is no world without research, science, innovation, technology, invention. So, try to follow us, try to learn with us, be with us, and yes, see you very soon in our next session and the next session after this session with our great Vice Chancellor, Professor Charles. So once again, thank you, and bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, bye bye.